Who are the strongest characters in gaming? It sounds like a simple question, until you realize that strength doesn't mean the same thing in every game. Some characters win through raw power, others through absurd endurance, and some don't even follow the rules of their own world. And that's where the comparison starts to fall apart. At first, everything seems easy to measure. Whoever hits harder wins. But that changes quickly. As the list progresses, the idea of a fight becomes less and less relevant, and something else starts to matter more. Doomslayer represents the most direct form of power. He doesn't rely on complex abilities, doesn't manipulate time, and doesn't alter reality. He solves everything the same way, by pushing forward. Trapped in hell for an undefined amount of time, fighting without rest, he becomes a constant within that universe. No matter how many enemies appear, the outcome rarely changes. There's a certain irony to it. While everything around him is chaotic, his behavior is extremely consistent. He enters, confronts whatever is in front of him, and keeps going. It's less about strategy and more about inevitability. But even at this level, there's a limitation. Everything he does still follows the rules of his world. Kratos shifts the scale. He doesn't fight ordinary enemies, he fights gods. And not occasionally. He wipes out an entire pantheon in Greek mythology, and then continues his path through the Norse gods. But unlike Doomslayer, his power isn't just physical. Kratos carries consequence. He feels, he ages, he changes over time. That doesn't make him weaker, but it shows that he is still part of that system. He can defeat gods, but he doesn't exist outside the world they belong to. In a way, he masters the rules, but never escapes them. Dante introduces a different kind of power. He combines strength, speed, and regeneration with something harder to measure: control. Half human, half demon, he adapts quickly in combat, shifts fighting styles, and in certain moments, can even manipulate time to gain an advantage. What stands out isn't just what he can do, but how he uses it. Dante rarely looks pressured. There's always a sense that he's holding something back. Not because he has to, but because he doesn't need more to win. That kind of restraint is its own form of power. Sephiroth operates on a completely different level. His threat isn't just physical. Even when his body is destroyed, his consciousness can persist through the lifestream. That changes the entire dynamic of a confrontation. Because defeating him once isn't enough. When he continues to exist in another form, it creates a strange kind of tension. The fight can end, but the presence doesn't. And that makes the idea of victory feel incomplete. From this point on, the scale starts to break away from anything familiar. Azura doesn't just fight powerful beings. He fights the creator of his own universe, and wins. His power comes from mantra, an energy tied to emotion, especially anger. And the more intense that emotion becomes, the stronger he gets. During his battles, he withstands attacks on a cosmic scale, destroys massive structures, and continues advancing. At this level, it's no longer just strength, it's the absence of limits altogether. Bayonetta approaches power differently. She doesn't need to overpower her opponents. She only needs to control time better than they do. With Witch Time, she slows everything around her, turning any confrontation into a controlled sequence of events. She has also faced entities connected to the creation of her universe. And what defines her isn't just power, it's precision. There's no chaos in how she fights. Everything is deliberate. Kirby completely disrupts expectations. His appearance suggests something simple, almost harmless, but his core ability changes everything. He can copy powers, any power. That means he doesn't have a fixed ceiling. His strength is shaped by what he encounters. Over time, he has defeated cosmic threats and entities far beyond conventional scale. Kirby isn't limited by what he is, but expanded by what he absorbs. At this point, the logic shifts again. Steve, in creative mode, isn't strong in the traditional sense. He doesn't rely on combat. He simply cannot lose. He takes no damage, faces no consequence, and can alter the world around him freely. This removes the concept of a fair fight entirely. It's no longer about defeating an opponent. It's about controlling the environment itself. Animdude takes this one step further. He isn't just inside the game. He represents the creator within it. That means he can modify rules, change mechanics, and decide how the game behaves. At this level, comparison stops being meaningful, because you can't compete with something that defines the system you're inside. And then we reach the final level. The Demi-Fiend doesn't exist within a stable world. He exists in a universe that has already collapsed. During the conception, reality itself is destroyed and restructured, and he continues to exist within it. He confronts entities responsible for shaping that world, but more importantly, he represents something beyond it. Within the experience of the game, he functions as an extension of the player's decisions. And that changes everything. Because while every other character is bound to the rules of their universe, he is connected to something outside of it. And once that happens, it's no longer about strength. In the end, the strongest characters in gaming aren't just the ones who destroy everything. They're the ones who don't need to follow the rules to win. And that changes the original question. Because maybe it was never about who is the strongest, but about who is actually playing the same game as everyone else.